What's up? What's up, everybody? It is another episode of Enters the Lab podcast. Yes, and we got a very special episode for you. As yes, the new league year has already started, and we are seeing big moves made by multiple NFL teams, and we're about to go ahead and touch in on that. We're talking trades, talking transactions. We're talking people waiting to make decisions. Yes, we're talking about one particular person in that sense. But we got a lot to discuss on Enters the Lab podcast presented by Red Zone DC Media. Let's kick it. What is up, everybody? It is Enters the Lab podcast. Yes, there's always at least one good blunder on this show. C. Henry, what's good with you tonight?
What's good, DT? Man, the league new year is here, man. And again, man, renewed hope. You know what I'm saying? Revenge is on my Lions' mind, man. And we talking football. We talking football free agency today, man. I'm glad to be here, man.
Most definitely. And obviously, we are missing our third co-host today as we all want to send prayers and thoughts for Lady E. She recently just told us she had to go take care of something within her body. A little blood transfusion. We just got told, so we're definitely praying for her and for a quick and speedy recovery. We do not want her to miss times like this. She is definitely family to us on Enters Lab Podcast and Red Zone DC Media. So keep your thoughts and prayer for Lady E for tonight as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thoughts and prayers definitely to her, man. Thoughts and prayers definitely to her, man. But on a lighter note, a happier note, man. Let's talk, man. Some of this free agency, man. It's a lot of things going on, a lot of trades going on, a lot of action these first 3 or 4 days. I know you guys in Washington are feeling really good about, you know what I'm saying, what's going on there. Samantha, tell us about, you know what I'm saying, a little bit what's going on in Washington and who you feel is any of these other squads who you feel are winners at this point, man.
Okay, so obviously we're talking about some of the winners this week for the first couple of weeks of legal Tampa period and free agency. I definitely got to put my squad up there. There was obviously, the whole offseason we were talking about, and I also, for those that follow me on the Ins and Out Deep podcast, one of the episodes I made was just specifically just talking about the trenches for Washington, for playing against Philadelphia, that if you're trying to catch up with them, it all starts with the trenches, offensive line, the defensive line, and it's been a conversation within our fan base. A lot of people went back and forth and stuff like that. I mean, I love Brandon Coleman. Let me put that out there. I love Brandon Coleman, but you can always maximize and better the position and also maximize and use Brandon Coleman to the best of his ability if you feel like he can have a higher upside at another position. So there's been a lot of conversation about the left tackle position Washington was trying to pursue. There was reports out there, they were interested in Ronnie Stanley, but my brother, who was a diehard Raider fan, he told me straight up, yeah, they're going to sign him back. So that was something that I already dropped off. But Adam Peter moves in the shadows. Like, he was legit looking around the league. He had to look around the league. He had to test the market of some of these teams that had high quality tackles, because there's no way in the world that some would have expected that they would trade for Laramie Tunsil, the Houston Texan Pro Bowl tackle, and he gets traded to Washington, and you trade a couple picks this year, a couple picks next year. So Washington definitely has done some good things, despite some people complaining about some of the veterans being a little bit long in the tooth. I mean, I get it, but when you look at some of these 49er teams and some of the teams that Adam Peters has been on staff and with, they have always given opportunity to do these veteran guys to complement with the youth on the team. So I understand that philosophy, and also there's nothing wrong with having a vet because when it's free agency, those are a lot of the guys that already have typically gotten their big payday. Now they're just searching for serviceable job, 1 to 2 year deals, working around the NFL, moving back and forth. The draft, obviously, that is where the infusion of youth comes in for these NFL squads. But definitely, I'm very excited about the Larry Tunsil move to strengthen the trenches for Washington. Um, Another team that I feel like definitely got the message about some of the things they need to fix. And it's in your division, Chicago Bears. I mean, obviously they definitely with Ben Johnson. We know when he was with Detroit Lions, you guys had a top 5 offense, but that top 5 offense also was with a strong offensive line. So they identified what were the problems with the Chicago Bears. They traded with a guy they were familiar with from the Rams. He comes over. They signed the center from Atlanta Falcons, which that was the worst kept secret by the moves that the Bears were making. But I'm actually proud of what the Bears have done, man. They're trying to surround Caleb Williams with the security that he needs to further his development. Now, obviously, holding the ball in the pocket is definitely something he'll have to fix, but you'll feel much better when you have your security guards protecting you and give you an opportunity to make plays. So I love what Chicago has done so far this free agency.
Yeah, and I'm gonna piggyback off that. I definitely think Chicago has definitely done a great job on getting better in the trenches, as you say. Again, the biggest problem with Caleb last year was him being having a clean pocket and him being confident in that pocket. And when you do what they did and basically secure that interior to the offensive line, you hope that he's going to have a clean pocket in front of him, a clear vision, lane of vision for him to make those necessary throws. You couple that with Ben Johnson going over there. It looks like definitely Caleb Williams is a winner in free agency, if you will. Another team right here in the division I'm going to give a little bit of props to is the Minnesota Vikings. They've done some things over there. They didn't, re-sign Sam Darnold. So they're basically working with JJ on a rookie quarterback deal as of right now. And they were able to go out and get a couple guys for that offensive line. They went out and got Will Freeze. They went out and got Ryan Kelly as well to help solidify that offensive line. Then they went out and also added Jonathan Allen as well as Javon Hargrave to kind of help that interior. So, you pair that with the pass rusher that they got in the draft last year in Van Ginkel. You've got kind of a formidable front four there for Minnesota. So I like what they've done. A couple other teams who've done a lot of heavy spending. They had a lot of room to grow. You know what I'm saying? The cupboard was a little bit bare, but I got to give some kudos to the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots. They've done a decent job in terms of throwing some money around and trying to immediately upgrade their roster. You look at the New England Patriots. Vrabel doesn't seem like he's long for a rebuild that's going to take too long, and you see them really, really, really infusing their roster with a lot of talent. So those are the winners, a couple of the winners, man. So a player that I think can possibly come out of this on top is Justin Fields as well. I didn't like his money. I don't know why some of these other quarterback retreads got a lot more money than he did, but I want to see him in the Jets and see if he can win that job. He's going to have the best running back that he's working with from Breece Hall over there, possibly the best wide receiver that he's had to work with in Garrett Wilson, an old teammate of his at Ohio State. So I'm definitely interested to see what he does there with Aaron Glenn and in that offense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's been a lot of moves made this week, man. But within those moves, there are some teams that kind of left the cup bare. So, what are some teams that you were disappointed in a sense so far? I know it's early, but what are some teams that disappointed you so far in free agency?
I'm not really disappointed with anyone. I think I'm more concerned with some of the losses that some of these teams have taken, like San Francisco. When you look at some of the players that they've lost or rumored to be losing, we saw them lose Debo. We saw Greenlaw, is no longer on their team. The safety, Hufanga, is not going to be on their team. It doesn't look like. We're hearing the rumors of that Brandon Ayuk is on the trading block. What exactly is going on there? We haven't heard about an extension for Brock Purdy as of yet. So what exactly is going on there? Are they stripping down to the, what I'm saying, stripping it down to the basically to the white meat and starting to rebuild, or do they have a plan of action to go forward and kind of build more so through the draft and maybe through some of these bargain bin days of free agency? So eager to see what San Francisco was doing, man.
Yeah, San Francisco definitely took some hits. I'm gonna say this. I'm very surprised after 1 year with them at least almost in the playoffs that Seattle has done some major reconstruction. Tyler Lockett, we knew that that was a writing on the walls with him leaving. DK Metcalf coming out demanding a new contract. Geno Smith was looking for a new contract. Mike McDonald after 1 year. I mean, like, we're not trying to say we're not used to changes because at the end of the day, a lot of those guys were not McDonald guys, but I always felt like Seattle was always there, but they could never get over the hump when it comes to the 49ers and sometimes with the Rams. And that is also a competitive division. But I'm very surprised at some of the makeover so far with Seattle has done. They send Geno Smith to the Raiders, and now Sam Darnold comes in highly paid. So I mean,
now why Justin Fields couldn't get that type of money? Now why Justin Fields couldn't get that Darnold money? We just seen a little bit. In my opinion, I ain't gonna say way more, but I didn't see more from Justin Fields in his 5 years of play than I've seen in Sam Darnold, who definitely had a 10-1 year. I'm not gonna take that from him. Led a team to the playoffs, but I mean, we've seen that one time.
That's fair.
Y'all can get Justin Fields that money, man. I'm telling you, man, it's a double standard, baby. It's a double standard.
But what do you think about that move, though? Sam Darnold going to Seattle, and that makeup of the team, like that team is, whew.
So to your initial point, I think that you kind of hit it on the head. They had some success there in Seattle. I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything about what was going on internally there. But if you're Mike McDonald and you feel that maybe some of these guys aren't your type of guys, you look at a guy like DK, tremendously talented, coming off a little bit of a down year, got traded to Pittsburgh, and they got a fairly decent return for him. He's got a tremendous upside in terms of his talent, but again, the play and the production is a little up and down. So maybe he wasn't one of Mike McDonald's guys. He said Mike McDonald got in there that first year, was able to evaluate the locker room and the culture and see, okay, this is what I like, this is who I like, this is who I want to keep. These are some guys maybe I want to, kind of move away from, whether it be for attitudinal or for production reasons. Let's get them out of the way and let's kind of start anew. If I did good with these guys who, like you said, weren't my guys, imagine if I can get a locker room full of my guys in here with the buy-in and the talent. So I can see that happening there. And then we've seen some teams be able to kind of reboot, if you will, kind of on the fly. So maybe that's his thinking. But to the Sam Darnold point, it's very hard for me personally to put a lot of trust into Sam Darnold because, again, we've seen sustained success one time from him. So, show it to me again. Let me see what's going on. Maybe he's going to be a bridge quarterback. Maybe this, Seattle drafts somebody that they can, develop for the next year or two before actually having to throw him out there on the field. So eager to see how it works out in Seattle.
I mean, man, like, I just be trying to tell people, like, I mean, I get it. One of the main reasons he signed with Seattle was Clint Kubiak. He had a relationship, but going from Kevin O'Connell to Kubiak to me is a huge difference when you know that he gives you answers. O'Connell was giving Sam Darnold answers against a lot of style defenses. But obviously, when we went down that stretch, we know that the biggest thing that gets to Sam Darnold is pressure in his face. When it's pressure in his face, he looked like Mighty Green Man back in New York. So I think that looking at this situation, it's going to be very tricky to see how Seattle looks in next couple of years. Oh, you pulled a C. Henry.
Didn't see him. I'm going to add one more team in here, surprisingly, and I'm going to put a small caveat in here. This is as of now, but the pedigree is tried and true, though. The pedigree is tried and true, but I'm going to throw right now on the losers list the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Now, hear me out before we go crazy.
Okay.
This team has taken a lot of losses. Now, we normally see, the Super Bowl champion. A lot of times, their roster is ravaged through free agency because folks want good players. Most of the time, they have good players. But it's just been like the perfect storm for Philadelphia. They have a number of players who were available for free agency. They let a number of guys go. We're talking about Josh Sweat. We're talking about Milton Williams. We're talking about James Bradbury. We're talking about Darius Slay. Brandon Graham retired. Again, CJ Gardner-Johnson was traded the other day. They've taken a lot of hits, and I haven't heard of a lot of additions. Now, my question is, what does Howie have up his sleeve? Are they clearing the deck? We heard them involved with the Myles Garrett sweepstakes. Myles is now off the market. Max Crosby is now off the market. Is Howie clearing the deck for a possibly Trey Hendrickson move? Hendrickson, a little bit older in the tooth, but still brings a very, very, very high quality pass rusher and would possibly be about $8 to $10 million, just estimating, cheaper than Myles Garrett. So is he clearing the deck for them, or is he also trying to acquire some pieces so he can go and build a very, very, very young and cost-effective defense opposite that very, very, very costly offense? But as of right now, I know how he got a plan. I just ain't figured out which way he's going with it. But as of right now, Philadelphia is taking some hits as well in free agency.
Yeah, without question. But now let's move on to the other segment of the team. So there are some teams that still have some big questions at the most key position, and that is at quarterback. Let's look at obviously these four teams. You have the Titans, you have the Browns, you have the New York Giants, and you have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And two of those teams are very tied together due to the fact that they are waiting for one, maybe two options, but one of them has a big decision to make. And he is completely holding up a lot of people. I've been checking my phone all day, seeing Henry. Is he going to make the decision? We're talking about Aaron Rodgers. So if you were Aaron Rodgers, if it was between the Pittsburgh Steelers or the New York Giants, and I know there's been talk about, Minnesota Vikings, but quite frankly, me personally, I just feel like I think JJ's going to be healthy enough to play. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, what do you think is the best choice for you?
Well, I'm going to tell you, all of those places, even with Minnesota, all of those places are tremendous places to go for a quarterback. They have, solid offensive lines in place. Maybe not great, but solid offensive lines in place. Each place has great pair of shouldn't say great pair, but each one has a great pass catcher who, can be that outlet. When you look at a team like the Giants, they have, Tyrone Tracy, who was a running back that, I became a little fond of last year. He gives them a little bit more of the running game. Now, when you look at Pittsburgh, they're going to give you a better balance of defense, for that team. They're going to, you're not going to be in too many shootouts with that Pittsburgh defense. Pittsburgh, to me, clearly has the best pedigree, winning culture, best coach, you know what I'm saying? And you would be dealing with possibly the best group of weapons, some very volatile weapons with DK and Pickens, but the best group of weapons on the outside. Now, what are they going to do at running back? I don't know, probably draft somebody. But again, to me, it's probably Pittsburgh. Now, if the Minnesota, you mentioned Minnesota kind of in passing. Minnesota's the most intriguing because again, in a division that he's very, very familiar with, I'm sure he will want to come back and slap everybody up in this division. He will have the chance to play with Jettas. And again, as much as we like to say Aaron A-Rod is washed or he's lost a step, he still threw for damn near 4,000 yards last year. I believe like 28 touchdowns last year and like 12 I think less than 12 interceptions. So he was still an efficient quarterback. He's still better than 2/3 of the league out there. So to me, Pittsburgh is probably my number one choice. Minnesota is extremely intriguing. The Giants is probably my last choice, but again, no, I think he can go there and have some success.
Honestly, like, despite everything that happened with the Jets, Aaron Rodgers statistically was a top 15 quarterback based on the numbers. And I do agree with you. If I was to go to a team, I think obviously Minnesota makes entirely the most sense. When you are 41 years old, you're still trying to at least have a grasp of another ring on your finger that's been escaping you from your time in Green Bay. Nothing worked out in New York. The Vikings just make entirely too much sense, especially how much they're loading back up on defense, including the defensive line. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, your old buddy, and Hockenson at tight end. It makes completely much sense.
And don't forget about the Favre factor. He can go to Minnesota and take him farther than Favre did.
Oh, my God. I knew somebody was going to bring it up. And there's nothing wrong with the other choice with Pittsburgh because that makes a lot of sense. I think he'll up the passing game way better than what Russell Wilson did last year. The offensive line, the running game, the defense that's been begging for a quarterback like that since prime Big Ben. It's just for the Giants though, man. Like, I honestly just feel like right now, the Giants are just going to be the ugly duckling out of all the teams, Henry. I just have this weird feeling. I just maybe Russell could go there. He was trying to go there last year.
Expound on what you mean by ugly duckling. Expound exactly what you mean. Like, what do you like? Like they're the last choice for everyone. They're everyone's last choice.
They're the last choice for everyone. You have a head coach, you have a GM who are on a nationally televised Emmy award-winning reality TV show sponsored by the NFL, showing how you function around. And I'm not saying that's the biggest factor whatsoever, but you have a team that is extremely under pressure, this regime, to win football games. They're in a division that's already going to be tough with Philadelphia, Commanders, and Dallas. I expect to be way better this year.
I forgot about Dallas. They're one of the biggest losers of free agent as well. Haven't done anything much, So yeah, glad you brought them up. Losers.
Music to my ears, but I just don't see it, man. Like,
so I agree with you in terms of when we look at the football reasons. I do agree with you, but historically, they are the ones, and I hate to bring this up, they are the ones who have been the most resistance to breaking the color barrier at the quarterback spot. Now they're in a perfect position to possibly make that happen this year. But again, though, if you ask me who out of all those teams, who's most likely to do something stupid and pay Aaron Rodgers a little bit more money than the others to entice him to come, it might be the Giants.
Oh, I definitely agree.
Definitely the ugly duckling, but I'm not gonna write them off in this story because I mean they may be able to pull some strings and make something happen. And you got Joe Shane there. Hey, anything can happen, good or bad, I guess. I can't front. I mean, the Malik Neighbors pick was a pretty good pick. You know, the Tyrone Tracy.
They actually had a solid draft last year.
Yeah, the draft has been solid. Some of the other moves, you know, hey, we're going to see how it works out, but they're under some pressure, and I think that he is as tough as the division would be. Aaron could elevate that offense. I really like, and I can't remember who the young guy was who was playing in the slot. They had a young guy, maybe in either his rookie or second year. This is
Wandale.
They have a Thornton. They
got Wandale Robinson. They have
Wandale Robinson. When him and Malik were together, they were a tough little duo. So, you add Slayton back to that mix. You get a quarterback over there, man. Who knows? Who knows what can happen over there for the Giants? But to your point, they're probably third on that list. Both of those teams are. We got Minnesota was a playoff team last year. Pittsburgh was right there on the cusp. Or did they make the playoffs last year? I'm sorry. I don't want to disrespect.
Playoffs. They got bounced by Baltimore.
Okay, so both of those teams are playoff teams. So I mean, yeah, unfortunately, Giants, you're third on the list.
Yeah, and I do agree with you that Aaron Rodgers would elevate the play if he goes to New York. I definitely agree with that. And to your other point, I also believe this lasting barrier within the New York Giants. I think they are extremely open to breaking that because
they have no choice. They have no
choice. But I also think they like both of these quarterbacks. I just don't think they'll be able to trade up to number one.
Oh, I think it's going to a lot is going to depend on how people feel about Travis Hunter. A lot of it's going to depend on how people blah 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 blah. A lot of it's going to depend on how people feel about Abdul Carter as well. I think they could. I think they could. You know, if Tennessee, are they done with Levis? Are they done with Levis? Levi's? Are they done with him? You know what I'm saying? That's a big question mark. And again, how they feel about those other two players. I mean, that pick could be on the move. And again, with the Giants, if they feel very, very confident in Aaron Rodgers and feel strong in the class next year, now that's where I think you've got to be careful, because if you feel like you're going to bring somebody in who's going to amplify your team, are they going to amplify it right on out of the top five from where you don't have the chance to get that generational or face of the franchise quarterback? So you got to be careful there. But again, though, that's why we're here tonight, just to talk about some of the intrigue that's going to be going on for the next month or so. And yeah, Tennessee, we haven't even talked about them yet. So what do you think they're going to do at the top of the draft?
That's where I'm really stuck at. I feel like
they're having low key a solid free agent little signing period too. They took Kevin Zeitler from us. They're putting some things together over there in Tennessee. You got to watch them.
They tooling that old line up as if they're trying to get somebody behind that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Well, man, though, like, even though the GM said, we're not going to be skipping our generational talent, but there are some exceptions to that if you feel like that quarterback is the guy for your franchise. I think, honestly, maybe 7 to 8 out of 10 people, they will definitely go with the likes of an Abdul Carter. Or maybe some people will go with like a Travis Hunter based on how, people view him. But man, the more and more I feel about as we head down this stretch, I feel like Tennessee will be taking Ken Warren number one.
I think so too. I think they're gonna, I'm not personally not impressed with Will Levis. I think that you can't really expect to be in this position again. And if you feel like you have somebody who you can upgrade that position, that quarterback position, you got to take them. As far as Travis Hunter is concerned, I think he's a tremendous talent, but I do think he's a little bit raw in some of his in both things. I think, when you talk about his coverage, he's very, very sticky, but I think his footwork needs a little bit of work. I mean, he's definitely athletically gifted and has overcome a lot of different things where, you know, the technique may not be as sound as you would like it. And I think even with the in terms of him playing wide receiver, I would like his routes to be a little bit cleaner, things of that nature. I don't know if they're going to nitpick him to death, but size and stature is also a question. So between that and Abdul Carter and that injury, there could definitely be some fluctuation on what happens at the top of the draft.
Now, my question to you about Travis is, do you think there are questions about the things that you pointed out is because he's playing two positions and he's not really able to hone his abilities and his training to one particular skill because he's going back and forth? Or that's just...
So I don't, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know the kid. I don't know what his learning capacity is. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how he processes information. So I don't know if that's the case. There are folks who are playing one side of the football who get to this level of football and they still are raw when it comes to certain aspects of their game. So I don't know if it's because he's playing both sides or it's just that, hey, he still needs some time to improve on these facets of his game. So he's a special talent. I think he can be special at both positions, at either position if he decided to specialize, or both if he decides to get out there. I do not think he's going to be able to play 100 snaps a game. You know what I'm saying? If he's playing 60 snaps defensively and maybe 25, 30 snaps, I guess that's 100. I guess he could. I mean, I stand corrected on my own statement, but I do not see him being a full-time play. I don't think him seeing a full set of snaps offensively and a full set of snaps defensively. I think that'd be a lot on his body physically for him. But I can definitely see him being a number one cornerback for folks and also being maybe a number 3 or 4 wide receiver for folks. So, but again, maybe he proves me wrong and he's out there playing 130 snaps a game. Maybe he's that dude.
Okay. We'll see, man. I'm also curious about Cleveland. Very curious about Cleveland, what they do at the quarterback position.
Shout out to Andrew Berry, man. You got to restructure out of Deshaun Watson. I guess that's a win. Freed up some money, and he got Miles to stay. You know, on a landmark contract. So man, shout out to him, man. It was looking bleak a couple weeks ago, man. I almost had, you know what I'm saying, that them ready to come out to Cleveland and remove your name from the door, man. But you know what I'm saying, you bought yourself a little bit more time, man. So shout out to him, man. But Cleveland, what they gonna do, man? They need a quarterback too, bro. They need a quarterback too, man. Is Jameis gonna be the answer over there? Is he under contract? Where Jameis at? Why are we not talking about Jameis?
He's not on a contract. They traded for Pickett.
Kenny Pickett? Two gloves?
Yeah, they traded for Kenny
Pickett. Kenny? Oh, dang. What you say Jameis is under contract?
He's not on contract. He's a free agent.
They traded for Kenny Pickett. What you think? Because I listen. Something else has got to be on the.
I'm pretty sure he
can't be going to war with Kenny Pickett. That cannot be the plan of action. Even if you tanking, that's just too black. You can't throw Kenny Pickett out there. Two gloves, Kenny, 2 gloves, man. Oh no, man. So what pick do they? They're at number 2.
Yes, they're at number 2, and he is a free agent.
And all they have is Kenny Pickett.
And they traded DTR to Philadelphia.
They traded DTR as part of the deal,
which I think that's a way better fit.
So let me ask you this: so the Giants are sitting there at 3.
Give me Douglas.
So are they hoping, the Giants are hoping that anybody gets up to 1 or 2 and not take a quarterback? Is that what you're saying? So somebody can fall to them? Because now I got a question. Shedeur, what we've seen from Shedeur, what we've seen from his arm strength and his ability to process, I think he's a top-notch processor. I think he has adequate to good arm strength. But could he play in Cleveland, where we know that there's some adverse wind there at that stadium? They play outside. Is that a good fit for him?
I do believe Cleveland would be a good fit based on the scheme and what Stefanski wants. A quarterback that plays on time, getting the ball out of his hands quick. I think Shador has enough functional mobility for the bootlegs, the rollouts. And I think Cleveland can support him with if they can get a consistent run game with the offensive line. I think there are some of the things that definitely will fit what Shador Sanders can do within that offense. Now, obviously, a lot of people definitely are going to say, hey, you're playing the AFC North, Big Blue North, just, you know what I'm saying? Like you're playing against Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, and, well, we're not
outside
the cold.
Adverse conditions.
I guess you could say.
I guess Colorado was
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's the skiing. Well, I ain't gonna say the skiing capital of the world. It might be somewhere out in Utah, but they skiing out there. They skiing out there in Boulder. But yeah, it did look pristine. It didn't look like, I'm saying, like December in Cleveland or December in Cincinnati. I mean, I don't know. That's interesting. What do they do at number 2? That's interesting. Very interesting.
I think
while we still here in the QB carousel, I gotta get, what do you think the Raiders are doing now and for the future? We got Geno there for right now, but what are they doing this draft?
That's a good one too. In all honesty, I feel like, in my opinion, out of all those teams that are in the top 10, I just feel like the Raiders, to me, are the better fit to support a young quarterback. That's me. I feel like the offensive line is solid. I feel like the infrastructure with Pete Carroll, the culture he's going to bring in. We know what Pete Carroll did when he was in the NFL. Top 5, top 10 defense, running the football. Chip Kelly coming in with his offense.
I know top 5, top 10 defense right now. That's the vision. Right now, but that's the vision. And besides Brock Bowers, I'm trying to figure out who we talking about on offense. Who we talking about?
I think they'll build the offense out. They'll build the offense out a little bit more. I just like some of the pieces they have on that team. I just feel like they're going to be better supported, in my opinion. Now, when you talk about quarterback, I mean, Shador, Tom Brady, maybe a Jackson Dart. I don't know.
Are we talking 6 or are we talking about later on?
Later on.
Okay. Eventually we're going to talk about who's going to be elevated through this draft process and get elevated to probably a 9 or a 10, just like we saw Penix and just like we saw JJ. That we were talking about it in March. We didn't see it, but come April and May, things happen. But yeah, I'm interested to see what that very top of the draft. Tennessee, Cleveland, New York, the first 3 picks, and then you have at 6 and 7 the Jets. I think both teams now with bridge quarterbacks could possibly be interested in moving up and getting one of those and getting Shador or Cam Ward. Very interesting times, my brother.
Now, if we're talking about best case scenario for the Giants, obviously, best case scenario would be either Cleveland or Tennessee takes a Bill Carter or a Travis Hunter, and one of those quarterbacks fall.
Mm-hmm.
But for the Jets, though, man, they 7? Ain't they number 7?
Yeah, they're 7.
Ooh, that's a mighty steep, dog. Ooh.
Yeah.
Do we think Jackson Dart is going to jump that high that he'll be in the top 10? Or he's going to be a mid to late round, first round pick, and someone's going to try to trade up and get it?
Man, listen, did we think that the kid from Did we think that Zach Wilson was going to be a first round pick? Did we think that?
Hey, look, man. Look, hold on. Let's get something straight here. Let's get something straight here because I know deep down, I was very adamant. This dude is not a first round pick. He's not a first round pick to me.
See, that's what I'm saying. Listen, man, I understand, man. A lot of these folks, the analysts, they get paid to do it. They've been doing it a long time. They have all the advanced analytics. They have access to all of the information, the practice film, background information. And guess what? Sometimes, not just sometimes, a lot of times,
take one team
they still get it wrong. They still get it wrong. I mean, we human. They human too. You know what I'm saying? It's human nature, as my boy Michael Jackson would say. And that's just what it is. But I think one or two of these guys definitely have the I don't know how to say. I don't want to say the ability to fool. I should say the ability to pull the veil over some folks' eyes, if you will, and kind of elevate themselves in this draft. And you know how people feel about the quarterback position. The position itself gets elevated. You know what I mean? They're making $50-60 million, a year. That's where the position is. It's an elevated position. And the folks feel good enough about you. Yeah, they'll say, hey, we want a quarterback in the first round. Even if you feel like he's a top 50 guy, we want to get that fifth-year option. So we'll be willing to move up into that, 28, 29, 30, 31 to get that fifth-year option on a guy. So Jackson Dart, quite possibly, could do that. I'm hearing a lot, about him, how he's coming up, rising up, draft boards. And while we're talking about that, we can kind of segue to the next, subject, about, the questions about Shedeur this past week. Jacina came out this past week and talked about an unnamed, I don't know if it was a GM or a front office executive who basically had said some disparaging things about, Shedeur and kind of his demeanor and kind of how he had, I don't know if he said he took him out the draft board or lowered his, rankings of him in terms of the draft. How do you feel? What do you feel is fueling these rumors? Is it just smoke? Is someone just trying to feed the negative energy to possibly get a shot at Shedeur? Or do you think that these are actually correct assumptions, or are they misguided assumptions regarding Shedeur and his demeanor?
Well, I'll tell you this. It's very similar to what I had to deal with this week. I had a conversation with my boss about a particular situation and what a person told me, and it was very baffling. And as an educator, you know what I'm saying, like you hear things like that. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds very crazy that you would say that. And when you ask that question, the first thing he says to me, now we have to factor in the skin color. I think for me, you pulled a C. Henry.
I'm sorry, you caught me by surprise. I'm sorry, I was checking in on the wife, and you said something that immediately got my. This is what a professional told you.
Yes. I can't disclose, my job title, but it hits me when, that conversation get brought up. And when I think about Shedeur Sanders, a lot of this is misguided. A lot of this is just smoke. And a lot of this is just people just putting out negativity because his last name is Sanders. In my opinion, this whole thing about him being brash, this whole thing about being him arrogant and stuff like that, rubbing people the wrong way. What do you think? Look at who his daddy is. You got to be confident when you play quarterback. You got to be confident when you play that position. You don't want no coward. You don't want no one that's going to hesitate to tell you why he threw an interception 2 minutes in the second quarter when you need to score a touchdown, right? C. Henry, you need someone that's going to be, and that's just the kid. That's just what he is. That's prime time son. If anybody talks about instilling confidence in their children, I know it no better than Coach Prime to instill in his son to be confident. And does it rub people the wrong way? It probably will. To me, it doesn't, because that's just confidence. There's other people that have that type of moniker around the league, but I don't see no conversations about a Baker Mayfield, how he carry himself. I don't see no conversation in how these other quarterbacks do it. But because it's Shedeur Sanders, we have a problem with it.
Yeah, you touched on some great points there, man. And I think that it's a very nuanced and very layered conversation, if you will. And when we talk about, some of these men and some of these young men and where they've come from and their upbringing, I think that when they come to the league, I think that sometimes, people forget. We as people of color, sometimes we forget. We all have a similar story, but it's not the same story. We are not a monolith. We're all don't come from broken homes and broken situations. And I think that sometimes some of these evaluators who, have seen so many men come through that similar path, they kind of expect that. And when they see somebody who's not, who's saying, hey, I'm doing this because I want to do this. I don't have to do this. Matter of fact, my dad was whoever he was. He's put me in position to be great. I've already been a boss and a brand, if you will, which a lot of these kids have been. It's not just Shedeur. A lot of these kids have been making millions and millions of dollars, getting these brand deals for years now. Yes, it's only a short period of time, but it's years now. And they have a different feel and a different demeanor when they come into these meetings. It's not just, whatever you say, I'm just happy to be here and blah, 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 blah. No, I've already changed the trajectory of my family's life. Now we're gonna try to take it up another level. That's what we trying to really boss up here. And some people have a problem with hearing certain people of a certain hue, of a certain age say that. So I think that's what's happening. And I think that it's unfortunate. And I think that, real people understand what's really, really going on. And I think that this is, maybe a case of one or two evaluators having a messed up mindset, misguided mindset. And I also think that there are some folks who are going to put out negative energy and negative reports about certain prospects in this draft to possibly have them drop or possibly, put them in the range where they can get them, whether it be trade up to get them or what have you. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is smoke, man. Misguided information and smoke to some degree.
And see, Henry, the moment that he transfers to Colorado, there was already negative energy and comments because people were waiting for his downfall.
Mm-hmm.
People have been waiting for his downfall, and they were pretty smiling hard. They won 4 games out of a row, then they go 4-8. But then the next year, you win 9 games.
Yeah.
Went 9-4.
He's playing with the equivalent of talent around him that is group of 5-ish. That is kind of, what I'm saying, it's mid-level. It's mid-level talent. They got a lot of talented players there. They got some talented guys on the field. But again, though, when you look at that program and where they are as a roster, in terms of where their talent is, mature talent, they still have a ways to go. So what he was able to do there in a short period of time, I think, was remarkable. What him and his dad did there was remarkable. I don't have a problem if folks have questions about his game. Folks have questions about the quality of opponent that he played. If folks have questions about maybe his arm strength, if folks have questions about him maybe holding the ball too long, things of that nature, I don't have problems with those questions. But we're not talking about somebody. We're talking about somebody who seemingly all this his teammates gravitated to him. He was a leader. He was fearless out there. He made plays. And that's all it's about. We haven't heard anything off the field bad about him. He hasn't been in any police blotters. He hasn't been in TMZ. So he's doing a good job as of right now.
Yes, thank you. Like when we have these conversations about Shedeur Sanders, it is always what we see on tape. It is never about the person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know him personally. I just know him as Primetime's son, and he looks and he acts just like his daddy. Not
I would even venture to say that I saw a little bit of prime time. I'm saying I'm a little long in the tooth here, but I would even say that he's a little bit more. he's a little bit more laid back than his dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He's
and
not as
laid back.
bright. He's not as outspoken. He he's just him. You know what I'm saying? And part of it is just who he is, who like you said, who his dad is, not really just him. And he's just doing this thing, man. So kudos to him. Hope he, keeps working through this process and hopefully not too much. He's not taking any of these things too seriously. And again, man, he's gonna be on top of this process, man, in just a month. So kudos to him, man, and his family.
Yeah, man, most definitely. And like the biggest thing that if for those that don't watch it, y'all should watch the Well Off Media on YouTube. That is his older brother YouTube page chronicling his journey to the NFL with guys like Cam Ward and such. Like you just open your eyes and see like this kid is definitely trying to get out of his father's shadow. He's trying to get out of his father. He's being himself. He may have some of the same mannerisms and antics, and I laugh at it. It's like, yo, it's too funny. But he's legit his own person, man.
Right.
And I'm very happy about that. The more that I watch this stuff, the more I'm rooting for Shedeur.
Yeah, man. We're gonna see, man. Just a little bit over a month left, baby. Green Bay. I might have to make it up to Green Bay, Wisconsin, man. I've never been up to Green Bay. I might have to make it up there, man.
Yeah, and he not going to draft either.
Hey, that's all good, man. Enjoy it with the people who you know what I'm saying who got you here, man. If that's at home, if you can accommodate more folks at home, man, no problem with that, man.
Most definitely. So let's go ahead and touch on this. So free agency so far, kind of weak in some areas. Are you content with some of the moves that your team has made?
The Detroit Lions, man. So I speak only for myself, not for my fan base, because it's we're not a monolith either, man. It's a very, very, very varied mindset right now. There's some folks who are really, really upset. Some folks really, really feel like we're one player away. So they wanted Brad to be a little bit more aggressive in free agency and grab some of those big name players out there. But to be honest with you, that never really has been Brad's way. And also, Brad's gift is, I won't call it a curse, but his gift is also kind of come back to hunt him. He's been so well, done so well in terms of drafting. Now we come to a situation where we have a nucleus of 7 or 8 players that we would like to keep together for, a short period of time. 3 of those guys we already have locked up in terms of Penei Sewell, Amon Ra, and Aleem McNeil. We've got Hutch, who's due now. Kirby Joseph he's eligible for an extension. Next year, Gibbs will be eligible for an extension. Branch should be eligible for an extension. Laporta and JMO. So with all that being said, man, we're kind of in the bargain bin. We're in the bargain bin. So to your question, we were able to get a cornerback one. If you heard me all, from the season, this offseason, talk about our biggest needs. I know we need an edge, but to me, I wasn't ready for Terrion to be the cornerback one. So I love the DJ Reed move. Would have loved to have Carlton Davis back, but again, 3 years, $60 million. A little rich for our blood. Got DJ Reed over here for 3 years, $48 million. And I'm happy with that move. Otherwise than that, it's just been basically depth pieces. Levi Onwuzurike re-signed. Roy Lopez, a defensive tackle out of Arizona, signed. I'm okay with the moves. I want to see what we do in the draft. I would love for us to have an edge. I don't know exactly what happened with Zadarius Smith. My mind kind of tells me that maybe he thought that he could get out here on the market and make more money. He didn't have any guaranteed dollars left on his deal, even though it was 2 more years on the deal. No guaranteed dollars. There was a $7 million roster bonus that was due at the beginning of the league year. I don't know if he felt that he can get more guaranteed money out here. He's still out here on the market. Maybe we get him back on some type of a team-friendly deal. But otherwise than that, with the draft being so strong on edge and defensive tackle, I feel we'll be able to shore those areas up in the draft. So I feel okay with it. It's, not the big spending, but again, these are problems that you have when you have a decent roster on your hands. And I got to get used to that. We got to get used to that as a fan base.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm very happy with the moves we made. Now, if there was probably one thing I probably would have done a little bit different. I don't have a problem with bringing some of the guys in the wide receiver room back. I thought they were definitely interested in adding someone outside. Um, I kind of had the bigger sense that Diami was not going to be coming back.
Surprise, man. Would he get 10 million, 12 million? He got a lot of money.
Yeah, he got 12 million with Jacksonville. I knew he wasn't going to come.
Now let me ask you this: I saw KJ Osborne was re-signed, and did you guys also re-signed Noah Brown? I don't know.
Yes, they re-signed Noah Brown, but
okay,
Alonde Zaccheaus signed with the Bears.
Okay, I kind of like that room. You add Debo, who's a different kind of piece there. I know you guys don't really talk about Luke in that type of way, but he's still as a third round pick that the new regime picked. You still got to see what he has to offer, man.
Yeah,
so hopefully he takes
a
step forward.
Yeah.
And then you got your big receiver and Noah Brown, who when he was healthy last year, he was a viable, solid second wide receiver option for you. Then with Zach Ertz in there, I'm sure you guys are going to add a running back. You guys looking all right, man, offensively. I see Adam. I see Trader. TA is what I call him. Trader Adam. He got 3 trades in under a year and a half. I see what's going on over there. He slightly effed them picks.
Yeah, I mean, but then when I really think about it too, is maybe just maybe, and us as we love talking about the NFL draft, maybe this draft is not as appealing to some of these evaluators as we get through this. There's been a lot of trades past couple of weeks. It's also a weak free agency because the cap went up. So you have all these teams got money to re-sign these guys so they don't hit the market, which makes the market even more scarce because now you have to go from the tier 1s guys to automatically to tier 2s and tier 3s and try to make something work. So I think for Washington, I think trading those picks is a good sense, but I don't have a problem, if Washington use the 29th pick and they trade back or possibly trade up. Whatever they do, I think you got to do what's best for the team. You still have 5 picks. You got 2 picks in the top 70 picks. You could trade 29 or you could trade 61, trade back. But like we need to find an edge rusher. I think we kind of filled enough spots once again where to like the most glaring need right now to me is edge rusher, RB1, and I'll actually put safety now that Jeremy Chin has left out. But to run that 3 safety set, you could add a safety to complement Quan Martin and Will Harris, who we just signed. So those are the top 3 needs that I see to me.
Yeah. I think you guys are sitting pretty, man. I'm watching you guys. Like I said, y'all at 29, we got 28. We got a lot of the same issues, same need areas. Y'all at 61, we at 60. So it's gonna be interesting these first couple of rounds to see kind of how it works out. Yeah, man. It's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be very interesting, man.
And we're gonna be live on draft day. We're gonna be live on draft night.
Oh yeah, man. We should be, man. We should be. That should be a little tradition that we had going on, man. But yeah, and to your point, you were talking about the weekend free agency draft, and I just had a question for you. It seems like this year we've had a lot more trades going on. We had Geno, the quarterback, being traded from Seattle to the Rams. We saw DK get traded from Seattle to Pittsburgh. You guys went out and got Debo, and you also went out and got Laramie Tunsil. We've been hearing so much about this draft not being up to par as other drafts. But when I look at this draft defensively, I haven't made it to the offensive side of the ball yet in terms of doing my positional breakdown. But defensively, it's a very, very, very solid draft, in my opinion.
Yes.
So do you think that this draft lacks the offensive firepower, the offensive, talent that previous drafts have had? We don't have there's some discourse on the quarterbacks, the running backs. To me, the class is somewhat deep, but it's deep with decent guys. I think guys that would probably, I don't know, besides Genty, who to me, he's still probably about a 15 to 20 type player. I don't think I'm drafting anybody before then. I don't see a Gibbs in this draft. I don't see a Bijan in this draft. So receivers, you know what I'm saying? I don't see a Jamar Chase in this draft. I don't see a Justin Jefferson in this draft. So do you think that there is a lack of offensive talent in this draft? And that's why we're seeing more trades?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest disparity we're looking at. Obviously, we talk about the quarterbacks. A lot of evaluators say if couple of these quarterbacks, if they were in last year's draft, they're probably in the tier 2, tier 3 guys, somewhere around the Michael Penixes, Bo Nix of the world. The running back class is very deep. And I will drop this hot take, by the way. Omarion Hampton is my RB1. Just want to let you know that. But
now, even with that, where would you where do you have him rated overall, or where would you draft him? Is he a top 10, a top 15 guy, or?
He's a top 15 guy, and I think, to me, with his skill set, there's nothing against Genty, but man, you have to go back and just look at the tape, dog. Like Omarion is like a mix of Breece Hall and DeMarco Murray combined. Like,
I gotta do more film on him. I gotta see it, man. You name some players, but I know when you say that, those are just comps and traits, not, you know what I'm saying. He's a carbon copy. So I'll keep that in mind. But I gotta check him out. I like Travion. I like a couple of other backs. But again, though, I don't see any of these guys of just. And I know that somebody's going to merge and be special. We always see that. But right now, I don't know if I see a Bijan or even and just to put a little, to be full disclosure here. When Gibbs came out, I thought he was more so a late first round, early second round pick. I didn't really, you know what I'm saying? But hey, I was wrong, or whatever. Maybe somebody's going to prove me wrong in this, but I think that we're going to see some defensive players get pushed up, and I think that there are going to be some values offensively for some of these guys, the running backs and the wide receivers. They may get pushed down a little bit in this draft, so it's going to be interesting, man. I love chopping it up, baby.
Yeah, and and this is the thing I've been trying to tell my fan base. Like, this is a perfect year for a guy like Allen Peters to fix some of the issues we had last year, and that's trenches. Obviously, an edge rusher, but I would not be shocked if they take another defensive tackle. Just how deep the defensive tackle room is. Like, it doesn't have to be, day 1 or day 2. It could be day 3. It could be somebody that they're like, hey, why you took this guy? And then he automatically comes in the rotation and get quality snaps, and then you can make somebody obsolete, or you could put someone that has a little hefty contract, and establish the future. This defensive line class is ridiculous.
It is.
The corners are about pretty solid. I think you'll get to a drop off maybe around the 5th or 6th guy, but there's just some guys that can develop and still be like a corner 3 until they become a starter. The safety group is very good, but there is a drop off there as well. Linebackers, mixed review about the linebackers, but I think they got some guys. But I just think the defensive side has a little bit more oomph than the offensive guys.
Right.
And there is no Jamar Chase. There is no Justin Jefferson. There's no Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, man. Yeah, it's I don't know how it's going to play out. And again, I have to look more and more into the offensive guys, but it looks like to me, like after about 20 to 22, 23, what's the difference between player 24 and player 44? You know what I'm saying? It's going to be some preference. It's going to be some, whatever you like, scheme fit, things of that nature. But again, though, we might see a lot of action in that 25, 27, 28, 29 area when those teams moving back into the early 30s or the late 30s or maybe the early 40s and getting a possible additional draft capital, possible top 100 pick. That's my goal. Give me as many top 100 picks, top 125 picks as possible. I would love that. Give me multiple picks in the 2nd or 3rd round, maybe even the 4th round, and let you know what I'm saying, let my GM go to work and add those pieces. So very interesting, man.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to get some picks on day 3 so I can see Adam Peter dance. Most definitely. But with all that being said, man, that's all we got for y'all tonight.
We got. That's it.
That's all we got for y'all tonight, man. But look, next week we're gonna recap the second week of NFL free agency, and we're gonna talk about a couple of these pro days. We're gonna get a little bit deeper into the draft. We're gonna talk about certain groups that we like, certain groups that we don't like, and we're gonna be getting ready because next month is the draft, y'all. Next month will be the NFL draft. So with that being said, C. Henry, where they can find you?
Man, you can also always follow me on Twitter, X, Twix, whatever they calling it now, at C. Henry. That's at CHENRY 313. That's at C. Henry 313.
All right, you guys can follow me at D Cleveland Jr. on Twitter. Also follow my YouTube page, the podcast. Dropped a couple of episodes. We'll be dropping one again doing the post free agency mock. We lost some picks, but I'm gonna have to make it work with what I got this week. Also, Casting Command Time podcast. This weekend, we also discussed about free agency and some of the moves being made. And that's all we got for y'all tonight, man. But look, we'll see you guys next week. We're going to be talking football. Football season not over.
Never.
It's not over. We here every day. With that being said, this is Enters the Lab podcast presented by Red Zone DC Media. We'll see you guys next week as we get more into discussion of the new league year. Thank you.